works is that women will spontaneously do this to see what you do, and it's a
Yeah.
way of testing your emotional strength. And when women are shit testing women in lesbian relationships, they probably don't have the hardware for it. There was this statistic going around that some people said that I misquoted it, which might be true, but it doesn't. I still didn't get the principle wrong. It was about lesbian marriage having a higher divorce rate, and I used that to kind of demonstrate how maybe, possibly what's going on is that women are more sensitive to negative emotion, and so
Yes.
they're having feelings about their partners, and then just saying, well, if I have the feeling, there it is. If I have the feeling, then you must have done something. Like, this is an illustrated psychological
Yes.
projection. If I'm feeling something, it must be because you did it. So when you get two girls together, it's just like a lot of, I have a bad feeling, so you must have done it. Well, you must have done it. Well, you must have done it. And I've had friends who were lesbian couples, and that's how they fought. And I got to see them say, like, it was like, you never buy me flowers. Well, you never buy me flowers. Well, you never initiate. Well, you never initiate. And it was like a lot of negative energy. Not that negative is bad. It's just that, existence, masculine and feminine, have to come together to create things.
I'm just curious. So was the 72% number the one that was incorrect?
The way that people said it to me is that it's not that 72% of them end in divorce compared to straight marriage. It's that there was maybe 72% of gay marriages that ended in divorce were lesbians, and the others were gay men.
Yeah. So no, the answer. So here's what this is why I was a little confused. So the way it works is about 56% of heterosexual divorce, or divorces overall, actually believe 56% end in divorce. 56% of marriages. It's 52% for the first marriage, 63% for the second marriage, and like 73% for the third marriage. I may be wrong. I think it may be 68% for the second marriage. I can't remember, but James Sexton's going to come on and clear me up on that. When it came to, they were like, what were the reasons for divorce? When 80% of divorces, 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by women. The question is, why are these women initiating these divorces? I've had a marriage therapist on here in a previous episode, and she was saying, well, it's because men are not doing their part. So even though 80% of the divorces are initiated by women, it's men's fault that was going on. I was like, okay, that's an interesting hypothesis. Why don't we control for that? Why don't we look at marriages where women are married to women and men are married to men? And the reality is, women divorce women. Lesbian couples initiate divorce at 200% the rate that gay couples initiate divorce, so that when women don't even have men to blame, they're still leaving marriages more than men are. Now, the numbers are much lower than 56%. So the reality of the situation is, same-sex couples, for whatever reason, they get divorced at a lower rate. But the point is, the women were complaining about the same things, but there were no men involved, especially the domestic abuse one. That is a big one. Domestic abuse reported amongst lesbian couples is outrageously high. The other thing that precipitated divorce, I think you'll find this interesting, between lesbian couples was when one of the two members of the relationship, one of the two members of the marriage, had a baby, a biological baby that was there. When that happened, that triggered divorce. And I think because, this is just my opinion, there's some data behind this. There's a book called Dataclysm. It's the CTO from OkCupid. I think he wrote this book.
Yeah.
And he was looking at data between bisexual men and bisexual women. And what he found is that bisexual men, in large part on the platform, only messaged men. Bisexual women, on the other hand, messaged men and women, showing that actual true bisexual men, like actual real destinies, are very rare. That's like less than 1.5% of the population. Bisexual women, however, will go through phases, and bisexuality or sexuality for them is more of a spectrum. And so the idea was, we have a lesbian woman who still has genetics of a female, and she's sitting there looking at her child and then says, this isn't what I want, this lesbian relationship. I probably need a man here. And then that's essentially what happened. That's one of the theories. I'm not saying that's absolutely a fact, but having a child with a lesbian couple precipitating divorce could be a theory why that is happening. But going back to what you're saying before, if the problem were that men are creating the issue, then what you would see is that lesbian couples would get divorced at a lower rate than homosexual couples, because men are the problem. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But what happens instead is that lesbian couples are getting divorced at 200% the rate that male couples are, because in cases, what your theory was, is that a lot of times women make up the problem, and then that causes the 70 to 80% divorce rate.
Yes, I think that what they refer to as women having a higher sensitivity to negative emotion is just sort of, what men refer to as women causing unnecessary problems. And this is my recommendation for how to deal with it. Just don't go down to that level. This is just something that, someone yesterday asked me if I hate women because I depict them this way. And that's one of those questions I'm going to be getting because I talk about what actually happens in relationships. But this is an experience every man has who's dated a woman for more than a couple of weeks, that she will find a reason to start a problem based on something that we didn't know or weren't aware of and don't really understand why it's an issue. And it's because she's just has this sort of instinct, I believe, to feel something negative, blame you for it, and then see if she can tear you down with it. It's kind of that's what they call a shit test, I think, right?
Yes, a shit test, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's my depiction of that. Works is that women will spontaneously do this to see what you do, and it's a way of testing your emotional strength. And when women are shit testing women in lesbian relationships, they probably don't have the hardware for it.
Yeah, so they failed the shit test. Exactly. I see what you're saying, definitely. Oh, well, the thing is, as a guy, you made that one video where the girl was complaining on the phone and the guy was celebrating, he was happy, because then he understood she was invested in the relationship.
Yeah, and that was, I had a diagram for this. Somebody bought it. Sometimes people purchase sheets for me. I needed the money in the beginning. I had a diagram where I made a video about, there was this attractive woman in a car. She makes a lot of videos in a car. And she was saying, why can't we all just remain deluded? Why can't we just stay Delulu?
Yeah.
And I made a whole video about if you don't pay attention to the truth about how to farm, then we don't get food. And if you don't pay attention to the truth about how airplanes fly, then they don't stay in the sky. And if you don't pay attention to the truth about your life won't work either. If you don't pay attention to the truth of society, then society won't work either. The answer to the question, why do you care about this, is because the plane's falling out of the sky.
Yeah. The objective reality, you have to eventually get to that point. But you make the argument that throughout our ancestral period, objective reality was more of a concern of the men who were hunting, building the fortification, and protecting the tribe than it was for women who were emotionally caring for children and in the gathering society. I'm not saying women are like that now. I'm just saying through the majority. When people don't have this concept, grasp this, okay? This is 200,000 years of Homo sapien evolution, and this over here is 15 years of Facebook. And what's happened is, because of the recency bias, you think that this is more real than this, but this is actually, this is what's baked in. A lot of people don't like that term, baked in, but this is what your evolution has put hardwired, that your firmware is here, and you can't just rewrite it unless you are aware of it. And if you're not aware of it, that's what therapy does for some people. Becoming aware of these proclivities that you have are the only way you can surpass them. You can transcend them.
I mean, it's a real mess. Like, we're supposed to be moving higher in order to make society better, and we're moving lower because everyone's addicted to technology. I went a really long time without getting a smartphone. And then when I got one, I just famously didn't use it when I didn't need to. And then when COVID happened, I was just on it every day because I was locked in my apartment. I had nothing to do. And I get it now. That for a long time I wasn't addicted to it, but I get it now that it's like you need to see what's going on in order to be connected. And then when you see what's going on, you don't have time to think about it before you move on to the next thing. When you get disconnected from stuff, like, there's a lot of people who ask me, do I know this person? Do I know that person? Do you, are you aware of this and that thing? And I haven't seen the movie, and I don't know I haven't seen the thing. It's the indulgence in everybody drowning in social media necessitates that you drown yourself in it too, or else you don't have anything to talk to them about. If you're not watching the same shows and seeing the same things, if you don't know the same memes, then people just go, oh, you're not even with it, and then you can't connect to people anymore. It's a situation that necessitates unhealthy behavior that brings down your ability to be objective about yourself, that takes away your ability to understand what's going on in your mind. It's like, it almost seems like it was designed. I get conspiratorial pretty easily. It feels like it was designed by some alien or something to say, well, how do we make them not ever access the parts of their mind? Well, let's give them something that necessitates that they exhaust their brain power on constant stimulation, or else they can't fit in with each other.
In order to maintain relevancy, they have to participate in something that drags them down to lower levels of thinking. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I do think if you look at what China shows on TikTok in China versus what China shows on TikTok in the United States, it's very clearly different. And you can say, well, profit motive, whatever. I do think that there is a part of the Chinese population that likes the fact that their population is far more educated in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics than we are in the United States. I think there's a part of them that knows in the future, if we can just keep them bickering and watching stupid videos about cats, that eventually they're going to get to a point where we will surpass them economically and on a world stage. And so I think that people might want to look at that, but in order to do that, you have to. So it's funny. I've seen this before. You ask a group of people, how many of you here think that the media fools lots of people? And they'll all raise their hand. How many of you here thinks the media fooled you? My girlfriend is more than 20 years younger than me. There's a study that shows that once you get past 20 years, it's a 178% increase in the likelihood of divorce. That's a thing that does not fit my narrative that I need to pay attention to. I'm not offended by it. It's new, it's a new data point I need to take in. And so that's essentially what I wish we could all do. But the reason why is because I don't take data points in as personal attacks against me.
Yeah, and that's exactly again what I'm trying to get people to do is just because something is said or just because something is true, it doesn't mean that it's like I have someone saying observation bad here. This is an experience that I get a lot. I'll just say something like, "Hey, these are the facts," and people go, "You're an incel." And it's an impenetrable wall of low-level thought that I don't know how to get through. And the way that you just said that is it's a perfect demonstration of, okay, there is a fact. So I like, and this might be my reaction to it, but I have to put that away and look at the fact.
Yeah.
Because I can't just go, oh, the world is whatever I want it to be. I'm hoping to figure out some way to make people embarrassed to be this.
Right.
Instead of
instead of doing any kind of research.